Hello everyone, it's the best channel about NBA basketball, NBA Dynasty, and this is the second part of the top 5 best NBA coaches, featuring only one person. Why is that? Well, it's because the scale of this individual is as vast as Africa, and fitting them into one episode with others would be too tight. That's why we decided to dedicate a separate episode to them. And of course, as you've already guessed, the greatest NBA coach of all time is and remains Phil Jackson. Didn't catch why he's in the first place? It's quite simple. Do you know how many championships he has? 13. 13 for crying out loud championships. He earned 2 as a player and 11 as a coach, which is why he stands above everyone else. This person was created to win in basketball. However, his career was always accompanied by intrigues and rumors that he's not deserving. The sports community didn't like him for his antics and unconventional behavior, not to mention his arrogance, which only fueled the interest of all the naysayers. Yes, he has 11 championships, but he was named Coach of the Year only once in his career. And his famous triangle offense, which he brought to every team, didn't work anywhere else and remains somewhere in the annals of history. So, who is this person? Why did he achieve such success? Is it all just about star players? Or was he truly a great coach? Today we'll find out. Meanwhile, go ahead and like and subscribe. Let's get started. Jackson's playing career wasn't as illustrious as that of his protégés during his time with the Bulls and the Lakers, but nonetheless, he secured 2 championships with the New York Knicks while being a key reserve player for the team. His offensive potential was weak, which he compensated for with his defensive prowess. Through his dedication, he became a fan favorite. After playing 12 seasons in the NBA, Jackson embarked on his coaching career while also juggling a writing career. As early as 1975, his autobiography Maverick was published, where the coach shared many unsavory personal details. For instance, the story of how Phil escaped 2 wives in Malibu with an actress and how, according to Jackson's own words, he got involved with LSD. Of course, he couldn't be called a hippie, but something from their lifestyle and mindset resonated with Jackson, and he even incorporated it into his coaching practice. Notably, there was the incident of smudging the locker room with sage and summoning players to team meetings using a tam-tam drum. While this seemed wild to many, it had a positive impact on the players.
They had a philosophical edge.
I think Phil had a lot to do with that, with his Zen practice, his whole emotional approach to a game of basketball. I've experienced a lot of different coaches, but he gave me the understanding about life in a whole different frame.
In any case, Phil was a skilled psychologist and adept at interacting with star players. He had players who could score countless baskets against anyone, but only when they were in the right mindset. There was no need to intimidate players during training or enforce strict discipline with such talents. Instead, you just had to find an approach that suited them and maintain the athlete's attention.
We talked about mindfulness as being, as much as we pump iron and we run to build our strength up, we need to build our mental strength up. We need to build our mental strength so we can focus, get one-pointed attention, and so that we can be in concert with one another in times of need.
So you would literally have the guys sit in stillness?
That's right.
Meditating?
That's right.
In 1987, Jackson joined the Chicago Bulls as an assistant coach, and just 2 years later, he became the head coach. Over 9 seasons at the helm of the team, he clinched 6 championships. At that time, the famed triangle offense emerged. Its essence revolved around forming a triangle among players, creating space for the unengaged players. Undoubtedly, this tactic led the coach to victories. But were these victories truly attributed to the tactic? Or were the victories propelled by the legendary players who could easily score baskets? Partly, it's a synthesis. Even Jordan could play poorly in the wrong hands. Moreover, to achieve championship victories and maintain that level for multiple years, it required not just players but a team. So, Jackson needed to involve the entire team first. But how could he do that? He had to restrict the star player's dominion and allow other players to feel the ball. This sometimes led to conflicts.
Yes, it was a quiet game for Scottie Pippen on Monday. A moment ago, we referred to Pippen being upset about his diminished role in the offense in Game 4, and Scottie expressed his disappointment.
I wasn't much involved in the offense. Only took 3 shots, and I mean, for me to score, I gotta have more than 3 shots. I gotta be able to play and push the ball.
You know, someone came over to me after the game and said, why didn't Scottie get more chances or more shots, take more shots? I said, you'll have to ask Scottie, because our offense is not a play-calling offense. We don't say, this is a play for Michael, or this is a play for Scottie, or this one's for Horace. Yeah, we have primary targets, but we're not that kind of a team.
Despite this, Coach Phil always supported his team not only in the locker room but also through the media. He emphasized the things he was trying to convey personally, speaking them openly for all to hear. One such interview Jackson gave was after Jordan's departure from basketball in 1994, when Pippen became the team leader.
It's because Scottie's been here for the last 2 years. Michael hasn't been.
But Jordan is Jordan. He's bigger than...
Yeah, but see, Scottie is such an unselfish player. He's the greatest all-around player in the NBA right now. And
really?
Oh, he's absolutely terrific. People get a chance to watch him every night.
But I mean, compared to Jordan,
Michael's a terrific player. I'm not taking anything away from Michael, but Scottie is a rebounder, as a passer, as a defender, and as the whole complete package, and the great energy that he can have on the court. Does a lot of things out there in the basketball court that is terrific, and he can lead a team very well, and he can get 10, 12 points and 10 assists and 10 rebounds and really be the determining factor. Now, Michael, no one can score like Michael.
It's interesting to contemplate whether Jackson could have turned Pippen into a star at the level of Jordan. Share your thoughts in the comments. About the ability to manage players, it's worth mentioning the fact that Jackson managed to handle such a radioactive player as Dennis Rodman. Moreover, it was the most nuclear version of Rodman, who already recognized his uniqueness. But Jackson managed to handle him. He allowed Rodman to do whatever he pleased as long as it didn't harm basketball.
Phil Jackson actually met with you before the trade and said, listen, do you want to play? And you said, well, honestly, I don't give a damn.
That's
and
true.
His response was, well, Scottie Pippen still feels a certain type of way over those 6 stitches. So, they wanted you to apologize to him. Is that a fair recap?
Oh, that's true. Everyone knows that story. That's true. We was at Jerry Cross's house. Me, Michael, and Scottie, and Phil Jackson. We was at his house, and I was outside with Phil talking to him. He said, "Oh, Dennis, can you go in there?" I'm like, "All right." I said, "I do it." I went and I said, "Man, there's no hard feelings. Man, I'm just happy to be here. I hope you accept my hard work. I'm just trying to just break the ice and stuff like that." He said, "It's all good, man. It's all good."
Yeah.
In the end, Rodman only let the team down once, when during the 1998 finals he went to a wrestling match. Even after returning, he showed one of the best performances in his career. However, every glory carries some hatred. In the Bulls' front office, a conflict brewed over time, starting from the first three-peat. Jerry Krause, the general manager of the team, who essentially built the team from such players, was not content being constantly in the shadows. He also needed that fame that both the great Jordan and legendary Jackson basked in. He must have been quite smart to assemble 2 championship teams, but not very friendly since he couldn't befriend any of them, ultimately leading to the disintegration of the championship team. In 1997, he even stated that championships are not won by players and coaches, which considerably angered many players. Jordan even mentioned this phrase during his own Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which was quite amusing.
Jerry Krause is right there, and Jerry's not here. Obviously, I don't know who invited him. I didn't, but I hope he understands. I hope he understands it goes a long way, and he was a very competitive person. I was a very competitive person. He said organization wins championships. I said, I didn't see organization playing with the flu in Utah. I didn't see him playing with the bad ankle.
However, in 1998, Jackson left Chicago with a firm belief that he would never coach again. Yet, by 1999, Mr. Jackson arrived in Los Angeles, where hungry for victory Shaq and Kobe were waiting for him. And this return justified all expectations. 3 championships in a row. It's Jackson's 3rd three-peat. This guy doesn't know how to run without setting records. Nevertheless, after the 2004 finals where the Lakers lost to the Bad Boys from Detroit, no one knew what the future held. A young team, their first three-peat, and yet conflicts emerged again. Jackson wanted to build the team around one of the stars, and he chose Shaq. Why? Because the dominant center on the court was more interesting to him. A dominant center on the court, a soft and insecure clown in the locker room. The perfect combination for Jackson. Kobe, on the other hand, often faced criticism from Jackson. After the finals, the coach even demanded that Bryant be traded and Shaq be kept. After that defeat, real drama unfolded. Nobody knew what awaited them.
Was this probably your last game as a Laker?
I don't know. We have to wait till the summer to find out. Right now, I really can't answer that question because I don't know.
Right now, I would say that, it's pretty slim chance that I'll be back coaching next year. It's a pretty slim chance. I've had a lot of persuasion given to me by these kids. They were hoping I could win the 10th and retire, but maybe losing this opportunity is enough for me to say that it's time to give it up. But right now, I'm not going to make that decision or give that statement.
However, as you remember, Shaq left, Jackson left, but Kobe remained. Jackson released the book The Last Season, where he tore apart the selfish Bryant, laying the foundation for the legend that playing with Kobe was simply impossible. What do you think would have happened if Shaq and Jackson had stayed? Could they have won another championship? And would Kobe have become a legend? Write your thoughts in the comments. But in the following season, Phil returned to the Lakers. How would they behave with Kobe after that book? They acted normally. Everyone pretended as if nothing happened. The team continued to work. Jackson stopped trying his voodoo tricks on Kobe. He became just a coach to him. Later, Bryant said, "I don't get it. It doesn't work on me. Just coach. I saw him trying to manipulate me. It seemed pretty funny to me." However, they both knew how to get under each other's skin during games.
Tension's a little bit high. Kobe just dribbling out front on the Phoenix Suns defense, so Phil Jackson promptly calls a timeout. You see Kobe not pleased, Phil not pleased, and the Lakers losing this game at home.
They would get angry at each other after matches as well.
Well, when the game starts getting out of hand, and this rightly so, Kobe will crank it up, not screw it up. I use that term screw it up, but not in terms of being an error or a mistake, but crank it up, and he'll go to another notch to try and get us back in the ball game. And that's something we do in the fourth quarter. That's our fourth quarter action. That's how we win ball games. And to have to crank it up and do that in the third quarter, we didn't have much left in the gas tank after that.
So did you get a chance to hear what Phil said after the game?
Yeah, I heard.
It sounded like he was saying by you having to take that amount of shots, screws up the game plan more so than you screwing up the game. What do you feel about that? You mentioned that you were trying to add energy to the team.
First of all, I've been around Phil for many years as I have. We all understand that he likes coaching publicly. And I think it's important for the new guys to understand that. Ryan, Powell, guys kind of, have issues with that. You see myself, you see Phil, Fish. We understand that. That's how he coaches. So it's fine. You just let him do his job and you go about your business. So, but he was right. I totally broke the offense, but I did it intentionally because I felt like we needed to get something started because what we were doing just wasn't working. So I tried to kickstart it, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But that's my responsibility to. And when it works out, it's great. And when it doesn't, you take the criticism for it. But I have thick enough skin to be able to do that. So.
But such statements became rarer after Jackson's return to the Lakers. Bryant had already shown who the real face of the club was and on whom the bet was placed. So Jackson had no choice but to simply coach. Kobe later on remembered Jackson in this way. "It helps me get better. It was his ability to manage a team that was absolutely brilliant. What are you doing, man? Don't insult my intelligence. I know you're playing games deliberately. Just tell me. No, okay, you're sticking with your plan. All right, cool." An interesting statement considering the complex relationship these two went through. Towards the end of his coaching career, Jackson would secure 2 more championships with the Lakers, although there were all the chances for a 4th three-peat. In 2013, Phil Jackson stepped down as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers due to health issues and his age, but that didn't mean his basketball career was over. While he wouldn't step onto the court anymore, a person with his managerial experience would always be valuable. And in 2014, he was invited to take on the role of president for the New York Knicks. Well, Phil had earned such a prestigious position in this legendary club through his incredible career. However, the front office work didn't seem to suit Phil. He made what seemed like good decisions, changed the coaching staff, signed and traded players, but it didn't lead to success. From 2014 to 2017, the team set numerous anti-records. Many of these failures were attributed to poor management. Nowadays, Jackson enjoys a well-deserved retirement. An incredibly rich career for a star coach. About Phil Jackson, we can say that he didn't just coach stars, he himself was a star. Did you enjoy our video? If yes, then subscribe and like. If not, let us know what you didn't like. This was the best NBA basketball channel, NBA Dynasty. See you soon.